everybody, welcome along Watercolour Wednesday, and we're live in the studio today with Dizzy. Hi Anne from Mersey Island. I can see your comments now, I've worked it out. How clever am I? Hi Carol from Suffolk. Christine's in Colchester. Hi Leslie with your grandson. Oh, how lovely. He'll like this. Hi Helen. And Diane, back again for more, of course. So we have one of my all-time favourites. I'm just seeing if I've got a mug nearby. This is Dizzy. And she's so cute. It's a girl, for sure. Okay, so this is one of my prints. Okay, I've got lots of characters like this. Let me take you through what I'm using first. So I've got cold pressed watercolour paper, that's the textured paper. Hi Angela, which has been stretched and taped down to my board. It's just something that I do. You don't really need... Hello, first time with me Rosemary, excellent, great to have you along. So yeah, it's a habit of mine. I'm used to stretching my watercolour paper, whether I'm using lots of water or not. Okay, so it's taped down with gummed tape. You can buy all this off my website if you need supplies. I'm just reaching for my pad. So actually I need to put another order in for these because I'm down to about 8 or 9 pads left in stock. So this is my 300 GSM paper, Eunice J Friend, Bockingford. And the brushes that I'm using, for those of you that watch me all the time, you'll be used to seeing these. This is my size 12 and my size 6 watercolour brushes. Now they come to a lovely point. I sell a set of these again on my website. Just go to euniceJfriend.com, art products, and you'll find them there. I think it's around £7 for a set of 7. So £1 a brush. You can't go wrong. There's my brushes. I'm using my paints today. These are my handmade watercolour paints. Again, if you fancy treating yourself, you could buy yourself a set of those or just 1 or 2 colours to try them out. And I always pop a little sample in there. If you buy 1 or 2 colours, I pop some samples in for you to try, little dot cards. Okay, so I've got my water, my paper and my pencil. So you can see I've done nothing. We're going to do all this together today. So the picture's down the bottom of your screen. Hopefully you can all see that. And here's my duck. I'm just going to pop him next to me there. So if you're not happy about drawing, you could print him off. Just click on the picture and download him. Print him off, or her off, sorry. And trace it down. Just scribble over the back with a 2B pencil and put on your paper and then draw over the lines, okay? So no need. Hello Pip from Bangor. So I'm going to show you an easy way to draw your goose. We're going to start by just loosely sketching. I'm using my 2B. You should use a HB or a H, a harder pencil. I'm really just creating this round ball for the body, slightly off round, to get her belly in. Okay, so nice and loose. Doesn't have to be a perfect circle. We're going to change it in a minute. We're going to make it a bit more elongated, just to start us off. Now, we're going to add a bit of a wing coming off the side. Pop her wing on. And then I'm going to play around with this circle. I make my marks a bit stronger now so you can see. Just adding a bit more angle to my circle, coming under her belly and flattening her off a bit. She's got a bump in the middle, coming out to the other side and coming down towards her leg. Okay, so you just come down a little bit towards the leg. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to come up the other side of her leg. Follow this round. This is where I'm changing the circle now. I'm just taking it a bit further out to match the shape. Come up the side and then start coming in towards her neck. And then you can just take your eraser and get rid of your guidelines. So that circle was there as a guide for you to get that shape of her in. And just rub that bit out as well. We're going to use, sorry, I forgot a product, didn't I? I forgot to tell you about, we're also going to use a liner ink pen. If you haven't got a liner ink pen, don't worry. Just use any old pen. Use a biro, but it needs to be black, really. And we're going to do this at the end. I sell sets of these, you won't be surprised, on my website. And I'm going to use a 05 nib. But a 03, 05, 08 will all be fine. Just get rid of my rubbings off. Okay, I'm going to come across her wing. I'm going to make her wing a bit bigger. Come across the top and then into her shoulder, coming over towards her neck. We've got half a duck. The sound is very bad. Let me try something. One moment, guys. I don't know why that would be. Let me change my mic if I can. Audio. Ah. We'll try that. Now I need you to tell me if that's improved the sound or made it worse. Pamela. It might just be you, of course. I've switched mics, so it's either got worse or better. In about 10 seconds after the time lag, sound is fine for you. Sounds okay here, no worse. Okay, I'll stick with it. We'll be fiddling around and not drawing. Now it's worse. Right, I thought so. It's just you, my lovely. I'm going to switch back. It's just you. Okay. Right, I'm going to carry on regardless. It is a little bit echoey. Now you should be better because it's away from the laptop. The laptop sometimes makes a fuzzy noise. So it'll be the whirring of the laptop that you can hear. Because it's working so hard. Move that away a bit. And I can't silence the fan. Okay. Hello, Martina. Okay. So I'm going to come up the neck now. And her neck slightly widens as we go up. Don't make it too long. Looking at that shape, looking at how the lines go up. It's almost parallel, but slightly comes out at the sides. Sketch nice and loosely, coming across the top of her head. That's why we sketch in pencil first, so we can make changes if we need to. Then coming across the crown of her head and sloping down towards that beak. Now, I'm going to look where her neck stops and where the top of her head needs to be. So that diagonal line across there, okay? So from the neck, take that diagonal. So that's where her head should have stopped. Where's my rubber gone? Remove that. And then I'm going to come down to that lovely, colourful beak. Out we go, round the bottom. Their beaks are quite flat at the front. Back up and up, getting slightly wider as we go up to her face. Okay, I'm going to make those lines a bit stronger for you. And don't forget her nostril. They have this little nostril on the beak. And then curve that round and up and across the face. We have half a duck, a goose. And then I'm going to come across the front of her beak. Let me just rub that out and make that a bit clearer for you. I'm scared I'm going to knock my tea over. I'm rubbing too hard. Okay, so round the beak is curved, and then where the top beak sits on top of the one underneath, we've just got a line, little arc coming up. It was fine before, no, that's worse. Well, I've put it back to where it was. How do you do it, Carol? You just follow the link that I've put in the comments or in the description of the event, and you'll see a link there to ko-fi.com. I'll paste it in the comment now for you. There we go. So you just click on that link, and you can either pay by PayPal or your card, whatever you want. Thank you very much for asking. So coming across now towards the eye. Now let's try and get the eye in the right place. Look at the beak, and the bottom of the eye is just a bit higher than that. Very simple little sketch today. I nearly didn't do Watercolour Wednesday this week. I've been run off my feet getting ready for going onto a shopping channel with my Jesmonite. For those of you that follow my page, you'll see that as well as art, traditional art, I do resin and Jesmonite, and I'm taking my Jesmonite onto the art store, the craft store, sorry, on Freeview, on Sky, blah blah blah. So yeah, I was frantically getting samples ready for my show in 2 weeks. And I thought, oh no, last night I think I published Dizzy Goose, so it was very late. So I'm amazed that there's 30 odd of you that have managed to tune in. Okay, that's it. Let's put our feet in. Down. Oh, thank you. Someone's donated a coffee. I got a little ding ding. So coming down the leg and splaying out to her webbed feet. I'm going to take her foot longer over one side. There we go. Bit of a bump and up the leg. There's her foot that's on the ground. It's quite flat. I'm going to put a little bump there. Okay, and then the other leg she's got cocked up because she's waddling along. So we're just going to come down the side of her body on the left and then come out and down and create her foot that's hanging in the air. Down. Always look at your negative space as well as that space that you're actually drawing, and that will help you get the proportions right. So I'm looking at that shape that exists between her feet. I'm going to make this leg a bit longer. Looks a bit short. Rub it out. Go again. Bump, that's better. Yeah, it needed to be another couple of centimetres longer, or a centimetre longer. And there we have her waddling along, waiting for some colour. Excellent. Are you all with me? Have you got your ducks drawn out? I hope so. Whilst I'm just giving you a bit of time with your drawings, if you're drawing along, I'm going to take this opportunity to make that wing a little bit wider. Okay, just inside her body here, I'm putting a few markers because you can see just the edge of the wing that's coming off the right hand side. So just along here, there's just a tiny bit of her wing that's going off. Okay, just adding a bit of her leg coming up into the body. There we go. Now this leg's behind, so we don't see any of that, but this one we can see her leg going into her soft downy feathers. Okay, I'm going to have a sip of my tea before we start on our colours. Why did I put U28? That's very odd. Ignore that, guys. Okay, now on Dizzy, we're going to have real fun with wet in wet. The one thing, and it's very similar to the sheep that I was teaching last night, is there are some white areas that I want to stay white. So up in her head, down the back of her neck, and in the top part of her body, I want her to stay light, and she's in shadow down here. Okay, and I'm using some yellow, mixing in with blue and a bit of purple, cooler tones in the shadow side of our duck. Wet in wet. So to keep the paper white, we need to keep it dry. So we are going to work wet into wet, but we're going to leave some patches dry over this area. Okay, and we're going to start, instead of putting water down first, we're going to put our first colour down. Okay, and that's going to be the yellow. Let me just bring this down a bit. I don't want to lose off the screen. There's my yellow. Thank you. So I've got my bright yellow. I'm going to add some water to my mixing palette and pull a little bit of that yellow through. Keeping it nice and bright, and I don't want it too strong. Rasmika. Hello, Rasmika. Oh, thank you, from South Africa. Wow, you are a long way from us. Timeline, I think you're very similar, aren't you? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. So I'm loading up a nice wet brush, wet on to dry, and coming in to that chest. Remember, your watercolours will dry back lighter, they always do, lighter than when you put them on. I'm just having fun, dancing around. Hold your brush nice and loose. Okay, don't be down here. Have it up here. This is a loose painting. So if you're loose, your painting will become loose too. Pop some in the wing. Okay, now as we progress and add more colours on, we're going to change from wet on dry, which we're doing now, wet paint onto dry paper, and it's going to slowly become wet into wet. So I'm going to take, what shall I take next? I'm going to take some of my turquoise, or you could use cerulean blue. I love my turquoise. Look at that colour. Isn't it gorgeous? And so strong too. So I'm going to water that down, because I don't want it quite that strong. Lots of water on my brush. I'm going to bring some of this turquoise down the edge. I mean, it really doesn't matter where you put it, guys. Now where the turquoise meets the yellow, I'm going to have a lovely light green starting to happen, where it touches into the yellow. Bounce it around. Keeping the stronger colours to the right hand side. I'm going to come along her shoulder, along the top of the wing. Now what's important, when you add a new colour next to the white area, okay, that's going to stay white, I want to soften that mark. So I'm going to take some clean water on my brush and just wipe that clean water under the light blue, because I'm not going to introduce any more colours. I want to have a soft edge to that band of blue, and this technique is called softening. Okay, let's move on to some purple. So I'm using, the colour I've got here is Cobalt Violet Light. Let's get some of that going. Bit different to the colour I used last time. Coming down, swiping down that side of the body, touching into the blue and touching into the yellow. I want her to be a bit different from when I did her before. Thank you, Sue. So now I've put that pink on there, or violet, I'm just going to take some water, not much, just a little, and go in around the edge, encouraging that pink to mix with the blue and to mix with the yellow, and making it look really soft. I love this colour on her. You could take it more bluey purple like I did before. Okay, I just fancied trying something different this time. Okay, a bit more pink or violet. I'm going to come in under her belly, behind her leg, taking this cobalt violet straight over the top and into the blue. Now I'm just going to want her to look a bit mottled, so I'm just going to tap down with my brush, move it around with the edge of the brush, encourage that colour to blend and mix, just giving her that mottly look. And it's really the dance of your brush that's going to do that. Okay, just tapping and moving, depositing little puddles of colour amongst the feathers on your duck. Duck, goose, goose. I keep changing her from a girl to a boy and from a goose to a duck. Okay. I'm going to carry on up that neck, right on the tip of my brush now. And it doesn't matter if you go over your lines, in fact it all enhances it. I'm going to add a little bit more blue up here as well. Let's have a bit more of that turquoise. Now I'm next to the white paper again. I'm going to leave this area white. So bring a little swoop of water along that edge, just for it to bleed down and soften. Okay, I'm going to go into the wing with a little bit of my turquoise, mix it in with the yellow. Just having fun, a bit more yellow in there over the top. Now as you can see, she's starting to dry back and the colours are already getting lighter. Pamela, it's always repeated. Just watch the videos, go to the video section, not that you can hear me. Let me type an answer. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. She asked me a question, but obviously if I'd answered, she wouldn't be able to hear my answer because she can't hear me. There we go. Ah! We're going to get this duck finished today, do you think? Any chance we might get this duck finished? Okay. Fun and games, I love it. I don't know what I was saying now, it's gone. Oh yes, she's fading back a bit lighter. She's still damp, so at this stage I'm going to pop back in with my vibrant yellow and just put another layer of colour in to strengthen her up. Excuse me. Just picking a couple of areas where I want that yellow stronger. Just popping it over the top. It's still damp, so I don't need to add any water. A couple more splodges of blue, why not? Okay, don't mix it too much though. You could run the risk, particularly if you're using purple and yellow, when the purple meets the yellow it will make grey. So just be careful with that combination. Okay, blue again, bit turquoise, up the top of her head, just skimming round the top. And a little bit down the back of her neck. Now that's gone on quite strong, a bit stronger than I wanted, so I'm going to use my brush like a sponge, dry it off, just have it damp and go around and soak up the excess colour. There we go, just lifting some of that out, spreading that around. Fabulous. She's gorgeous. Okay, I hope you will all post your pictures of your geese for me when you're finished, whether you paint along with me or you do it later. Come back to this event and comment and post your pictures, especially if there's any children painting along. I love to see kids work. Okay, beak next. I'm going to come into my cadmium red. Now cadmium red, this one's crimson and this one's cadmium red. You want the one that's a bit more yellow based, more orangey looking. If you haven't got that, then mix your red with some yellow, make your own orange. So I'm going to take my cadmium red, pop it in my mixing palette first so I can water it down a bit. And let's go into that beak, wet on to dry. Down we come. Across the tip of the beak. That pop of colour. I'm going to add a little bit of cadmium yellow to my red. I want it just a touch more orangey. There we go. And I'm taking this fairly strong, this pop of colour on the beak. And then I'm going to spread that around. To take what I've done and spread it over. I'm going to have to turn my board around. Sorry guys, let me move everything out the way. Move that over there. So, otherwise my hand was going to rest in her belly and it's still wet. So just coming up that side of her beak and across to the face. Across to her cheek. So I've left a sliver down the side, clear, white. I'm just going to pour another bit. Just a little bit coming up the side. Use the very tip of your brush when you're coming along the edge. There she is. Doesn't that brighten things up? Okay, moving down to her legs then, next. Going to take my yellow again, just come down her leg. A little bit from the body. In fact, I'm going to take that yellow all over her foot. So I'm just using my lemon yellow, taking it, or you could use cadmium yellow, over her foot to start with, and the other one. And we're going to mix our red over the top. That way we're allowing the red to mix with the yellow, and we're going to have a lovely orangey red for our duck. We could have done that in the beak as well if we wanted to. So give her yellow feet to start with. And then I'm taking my cadmium. I'm starting a bit lower because it's going to bleed. We're wet into wet now. And literally just loaded my brush and tapping it around the foot. Pulling it, tapping it, or tap and pull. Leaving a bit of yellow from underneath showing through. And into the other one. I'm going to start up here next to her body, a thin line of orange, then, or red, tap in, tap to get a strong colour off that brush, a nice puddle to play with, and then spreading it around the foot, tap and spread, tap and then spread it. There we go. And I'm going to leave a couple of areas of the yellow, as I say, showing through. Taking her a bit darker around the edge, a bit stronger around the edge. Everything's wet, so that stronger red's going to bleed in with the colours underneath. You see how I just nudge it and pull that colour around? Cleaned my brush off then so I could spread it without adding any more pigment. And on the other side, a little bit stronger. Taking my red straight from the pan this time. Going wet into damp, wet into wet. There she is. Isn't she gorgeous? She's such fun to do. I just want to darken her belly a second. So I'm going to switch back to that belly area. I'm going to take a bit of turquoise and I'm going to add some of my pink to it. And it's going to go a bluey turquoise, pink and turquoise, we'll make a blue. I just want under her belly to be a bit more shaded in shadow. Maybe a bit more of that through the pink. She's starting to look like she did last time now. Okay, I'm just going to dab that off. I don't like that bit. So lift it out. Use your tissue to lift out something you don't like. Your tissue is your best friend. I've lost my pink. Let's pop it back. So that pink is now going into a bit of purple. There we go. Can you see how mottled she looks? Okay, now if you're feeling brave, who's feeling brave? We've got the eye to do. Now save it for your ink pen if you're not sure. What we want to make sure we do is keep a little glint in her eye. So I'd like you, if you're going to paint it, to move to your small brush. Take your Paynes Grey. If you haven't got Paynes Grey, I want you to take your ultramarine blue and your brown and mix them together. But you need this paint to be thick so it doesn't run around. So you would go into the paint, blue, brown, blue, brown, blue. Wet brush first and pick up that pigment and end on the blue. Okay, I'm going to pop my glasses on for this. Into that eye on the tip of the brush. Your brush must be wet. Just using the very end fibres of your brush, coming around the eye. I start at the outside and creep in. Oh, thank you. Someone's bought me a coffee. Gosh, the amount of coffee I'm going to drink from all the donations. Needless to say, I don't spend it on coffee. I spend it on equipment so I can keep broadcasting to you guys and paying my subscription fees. There we go. She's almost ready for her ink. I just want to put some grass in at the bottom. So I'm going to take my grass green into my yellow. You could put blue into your yellow if you want. Make your own green, why not? I want this quite bright. This is a fun picture. Nice summer, fresh, juicy grass. And we're just going to pop the end of our brush down and flick up. Either side of her foot. Have some come in from behind her foot. And getting smaller as they go off to the side. It's really just a little thing. Doesn't have to be much. So that's my bright green with lots of yellow, and then I'm going to take the green on its own, nice and thick and strong, and come over the top so we get some different colour grass picking up there. Now, I know we've lost Easter, but seriously, imagine doing this for someone as an Easter card if you send Easter cards. Wouldn't it be good? So there's my grass. Marzana, what a wonderful name. She looks alive when you put the eye in, doesn't she, Pip? Okay, now ink pen time. You don't have to ink, okay? But if you do decide to ink, I want you to keep it very sketchy, and I don't want you to draw a line all around her, okay? Just pick a few places, like the back of her head. So, my pen out. I'm just going to flick around. Make sure your pen is water resistant. If it isn't, and if you're not sure, dry it off first, okay? Give it a quick blast with a hairdryer first. Okay, coming around the top of her head. A couple of lines on the face. And just sketch with it. So you're not going to join your lines up. Again, hold it nice and loose. Come around the edge. Flick in. body there, just to add something. I think this Dizzy number 2 is slightly chubbier than before and a little bit more rotund. And actually, I'm not sure whether that's her wing or her bottom. Okay, I'm going to come into the feet, round the feet. Again, not drawing all the way round, picking a spot, drawing your line and moving on. Keep it sketchy, keep it loose. Coming up in that body. I'm just going to put a couple of lines in her foot. I've just got to make sure it's dry. If you put your ink pen in the wet paints, the water will go up the nib and it will stop the flow of ink and you'll have to leave it a little while. Oh, thank you, Jean. So I'm going to bring a few lines up her foot. Oops, I've missed her beak. Don't forget her nostril. Just fill that in a little bit. We haven't finished quite yet, so don't go, Jean. Across the front of the beak. Okay, so the final flurry, my regulars will know exactly what's coming. I like to put a little splatter in the background. Now today, I want the splashes to be slightly bigger when they land on the paper. So I'm going to wet the paper behind her or dampen it in a few places. So when I splatter and the paint lands in the damp paper, that little droplet of paint is going to spread out and it's going to become bigger. Good, Jean, good. Just watch this time, can't wait to try that. She is lovely, isn't she, Debbie? Okay, so I'm going to take the colours that I've used in the painting. So I'm going to take the yellow, maybe the light green actually. That would be nice. Load up your brush, twist it in the paint so it's nicely loaded. Test this out first if you're not sure. Just go on your tissue somewhere, hold the brush horizontal to your painting and then just tap. You can either tap down on your finger like so, it's a bit more gentle, or you can give it a good tap from above. And I don't mind if some of the splatters land on Dizzy. I think it's all part of the effect. I'm going to take some of the orange that we used. So always use colours that you've used in your painting, okay? That's the only rule really that I have. Load up that brush, twist it, let it load it up with paint, and then tap down. And as the paper dries and these colours land, they'll become smaller and they won't spread so much in the water underneath. You see where they've landed on her belly? I love that. In fact, I'm going to splatter some water over the top so that those splatters spread out even more. And there we go. Which one do you prefer? The pink or the purple? Thank you so much. And there's a bit I've missed. I've just missed a bit in the belly there. Up her leg. So a few more flicks with my ink brush, with my ink pen, and we're done. Thank you so much for joining me again. Please remember, if you do need to buy paints, pads, brushes, check out my website first. If you enjoyed Dizzy Duck, just a word of warning, I had a problem last night, if you're still listening. I had a little problem last night in that my paid for lessons, some people think they're free too. The way I have to use Facebook to advertise, I have to choose the free option, but I always put a price in the title. So if you see a class, unless it's a Wednesday at 1 o'clock, they're my free ones. If there is a price at the top, then you need to go to my website to book, okay? Go to the website and pay the fee, £10 usually. Or if you really want to paint more today, pop across to my on-demand store, and I have a library of over 70 tutorials that you can click, pay, and you get a PDF sent to you with a link, and you can paint straight away. So there's options for you. Thank you once again for joining me today. I'm going to leave you with a video of some of my on-demand classes. Have a look at the link and buy me a coffee if you've enjoyed that. And I'll see you next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Where's my button? So thank you once again, guys. It's always a pleasure sharing my art with you. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Marzana. I'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.